Now at 5 and streaming on crossroadstoday.com, the Salvation Army in Victoria operates over capacity every night, forcing difficult decisions. Plus, TxDOT looks for community feedback on major roadway upgrades planned for South Texas. And a wind-driven brush fire forces evacuations near San Antonio as crews work to contain the blaze.
Well, good afternoon. Another hot, steamy day. A few little pop-up showers developing just up the road on Highway 59, as you can see right about there. Nothing significant, but there is some activity in the tropics in the Atlantic. And we'll have the latest for you coming up in a moment.
And a developing story from Georgia where an Army base goes into lockdown after reports of an active shooter. You're watching 25 News now at 5. Good afternoon and thanks for being with us. I'm Shauna Curry. The Salvation Army is looking for ways to meet the growing need of its shelter. 25 News Now reporter Ray Mosley spoke with Captain Kenny Jones and joins us with more. Ray?
Yes, Shauna, the Salvation Army's capacity is at 18 bunk beds. Victoria Commanding Officer Captain Kenny Jones says he continuously is over capacity each month, housing more than 20 men each night. The beds are available for men who are either working, needing housing, or both. At an average of 126% capacity each night, it means some men needing assistance are having to be turned away. It's a constant challenge for the shelter as demand keeps growing, but space remains limited. Captain Jones says they're doing everything they can, but the need is overwhelming.
You always want to have more room than you need, but as long as I've been an officer, I've been around the Salvation Army almost 19 years, and I've never seen that happen. I've never been at a place that we have more room than we need all the time.
The Salvation Army limits the length of a time a man can stay in the shelter to 30 days, with some exceptions that allow for longer. The Salvation Army is working on plans to expand the shelter capacity, which will also include women and families. For now, Captain Kenny says he's dedicated to supporting men who rely on their services to reshape their lives. Shauna?
Thank you, Ray. The Texas Department of Transportation is holding 2 public hearings about a proposal to upgrade part of U.S. Highway 77 near Woodsboro and build a new roadway to bypass Refugio. The project includes upgrading the highway, building a new route east of Refugio, and improving traffic flow and safety. The project also plans to extend US 183 to connect with the new route, which will help improve a major hurricane evacuation path. The first hearing is Wednesday, August 20th from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. at the Refugio County Expo Center. The second is Thursday, August 21st at the same time at the Woodsboro School Cafeteria. A virtual hearing will also be available starting August 20th on the TxDOT website. So to our viewer poll this evening, do you support upgrading US 77 near Woodsboro and building a new route east of Refugio? Yes, no, or not sure yet. 73% of voters say they do support this bypass route and the upgrades in Refugio County. We want to hear from you. Visit crossroadstoday.com/vote to let us know. 60 years ago today, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the Voting Rights Act of 1965, meant to stop racial discrimination at the polls and protect every citizen's right to vote. It came during the height of the civil rights movement as states tried to block marginalized communities from voting. Now some Texas Democrats say those rights are once again at risk. As Laura Aguirre reports, they are speaking out from across the country, trying to stop a Republican-led push to redraw voting maps ahead of the 2026 midterms.
What is happening in Texas isn't just a state injustice, it is a national alarm bell.
Texas State Democrat Carol Alvarado flanked by fellow Dems and political allies with a clear message for Texas and the nation.
We came to Boston to remind America we don't have a king here. We have a constitution.
The departure of Texas State Democrats Sunday left the chamber without a quorum to push a highly controversial GOP redistricting map forward in special session. The proposed Texas map would precisely redraw 5 districts, making them more favorable for Republicans.
It has to be done the right way. But again, the law also allows them to do it. And sometimes you're in the majority and sometimes you're not.
After Texas, it will be your state. After your state, it'll be this entire country. If this fight is lost in Texas, they're coming to Missouri next. Our governor has already said that.
Former Texas State Rep Beto O'Rourke has been actively fundraising to support the Texas Democrats.
The possibility of free and fair elections going forward, those 56 Texas Democrats are all that stand between that future and where we are right now.
Texas Governor Greg Abbott has actively moved to have the state Supreme Court strip one of the key Democrats who left from his seat. And the president signaled Tuesday that federal law enforcement may step in.
It almost looks like they've abandoned the state.
Should the FBI get involved?
Well, they may have to. They may have to.
We're here to say that Texas will not go quietly into the night, and neither should you.
I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Governors in California, Illinois, and New York say they will counter with their own plans to redraw maps in their states favoring Democrats. Well, it's no surprise, it's hot again. Let's go to Chief Meteorologist Mac Perez for a look at where the mercury is today. Mac.
Yeah, that's no surprise. I think the thermometer's stuck, somewhere about 98, and we're going to be there for a while. But the very interesting thing this afternoon is that now the tropics are finally getting a little bit more active. They've been extremely quiet. As I mentioned yesterday, we have a developing system right here. This is already an invest area, and in about 4 days, we're likely to have a tropical storm named here. It will be Erin, E-R-I-N, so that by early next week, we've got a hurricane somewhere off the coast of the eastern United States. They're going to have to watch it very carefully. As far as Texas is concerned, I don't think we have to worry too much about Erin, but it's a sign that things are beginning to wake up out here. We'll be talking more about that coming up in just a few minutes. Shauna, back to you.
A wind-driven brush fire near San Antonio is now 95% contained. It started from a controlled burn in far south Bexar County, burning more than 260 acres. As flames spread across dry brush and smoke billowed into the sky, residents in the area were forced to evacuate with little warning. No injuries have been reported. DeWitt County is working to better prepare for disasters like floods, wildfires, and big storms by updating its hazard mitigation plan. There is a public meeting that just got underway at 5 o'clock at the Ann Fryer Thomas Homemaking Building. Consultants from H2O Partners will go over the plan and hear from the community. If you live in the area, you are encouraged to stop by and share your input. The IRS says churches can now endorse political candidates. That could give Texas pastors more power than ever. To read this full Texas Tribune article, visit crossroadstoday.com. U.S. soldiers rushed to the hospital when officials say a gunman opened fire on base at Fort Stewart in Georgia. The base put on lockdown for a time as law enforcement responded to this active shooter. The base confirming 5 soldiers were shot. As ABC's Rena Roy reports, the base says there is no active threat to the community now at this time.
Emergency responders racing to Fort Stewart today after reports of gunfire.
They have an active shooter on Fort Stewart.
The Army base, about an hour away from Savannah, Georgia, put on lockdown after authorities say 5 soldiers were shot. The commander telling people to stay inside and lock their windows and doors. The victims treated on site before being rushed to hospitals.
His soldiers in the area that witnessed the shooting immediately and without hesitation tackled the soldier, subdued him, that allowed law enforcement to then take him into custody.
A U.S. official saying the suspect, who's a male U.S. Army sergeant, was stationed at that base.
We have identified the alleged shooter as Sergeant Cornelius Radford, an automated logistics sergeant assigned to 2nd Brigade Combat Team. Sergeant Radford has not previously deployed to combat.
The Army telling ABC News the active shooting incident unfolded in the 2nd Armored Brigade Combat Team area just before 11 a.m. Eastern Time.
The shooting occurred at the soldier's place of work. It did involve his co-workers. We're still not certain about the motivations.
The FBI says it's assisting in the investigation.
It was not a military weapon, and we believe it was a personal handgun.
All weapons on military bases are housed at armories and locked up, only used during training and then returned to the armories. Yes, personal firearms are allowed, but they have to be registered.
The White House says President Trump has been briefed on this incident, and Governor Brian Kemp has released a statement saying that he is keeping the victims and their families in his prayers. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Here are some of the top headlines in the Port Lavaca wave. Calhoun County Commissioners give the green light for Seadrift street rehab and excavator financing. Plus, the Memorial Medical Center Board of Managers goes over its April, May, and June financial statements. To read these stories and more, go to portlavacawave.com. And remember to subscribe to our Crossroads Today YouTube channel, hit the like button, and click the notification bell to receive alerts. Stay with us. Straight ahead on 25 News Now at 5. Standard Home Insurance will not cover this type of damage. A look at flood protection options. Plus, more parents are worrying that their teens are experimenting with a legal but controversial substance. This summer's weather has caused catastrophic rain and flooding in parts of the country, including the deadly flooding in the Texas Hill Country. As these rain events become more dangerous and more frequent, you may be wondering whether you should get flood insurance. In today's Consumer Watch, Jen Sullivan looks at why we are seeing more rainfall and what homeowners can do to protect themselves.
Heavy rains turning this road into a river, stranding buses and emergency vehicles in several inches of water. This happened last month in Scotch Plains, New Jersey. This is the result of the Green Brook River overflowing. And these heavy rainfall events are becoming stronger and happening more frequently all over the country. A recent study from the nonprofit group Climate Central found hourly rainfall rates have grown heavier in nearly 90% of large U.S. cities since 1970.
That is the most terrifying type of damage. It's the one I fear the most.
Holden Lewis with the NerdWallet says if your home floods and you don't have flood insurance, you could be stuck paying out of pocket to fix the damage because standard home insurance does not cover flooding.
Even a minor flood can be very expensive.
Experts say these rain events can be worse in the summer when the jet stream shifts further north and there's less of a temperature difference between the equator and the Earth's poles. These storms can become slower. When storms slow, rain falls faster than the ground can absorb it or infrastructure can drain it, which is how this happened in Chicago last month, where a stalled storm system dropped as much as 5 inches of rain in just 90 minutes.
So many houses are near little creeks, little canals that are placid 99.99% of the time. But in a really, really heavy rainstorm, they can flood, and they can flood really quickly.
Lewis recommends everyone should have flood insurance. According to NerdWallet, the average flood insurance cost in the U.S. is around $899 a year. But if you don't have it and your home floods, NerdWallet recommends people should look at FEMA grants, local government assistance, and nonprofit help. For Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
A North Texas nonprofit is raising concerns about a substance that is gaining traction among teens. Kratom is legal in Texas, and it's sold as a supplement, usually in powders, pills, or drinks. But experts warn the natural label can be misleading. The National Library of Medicine says high doses can cause sedation, euphoria, even dangerous side effects. Staff at Youth 180 in Dallas say they are hearing from more parents who are worried their teens are experimenting with it. Kratom is not regulated by the FDA. A bill that would have added age limits and labeling rules did not pass, but Youth 180 hopes lawmakers give it another shot. Mental and physical health are more connected than we might have imagined, especially when it comes to cardiovascular health. Experts say one critical risk factor for heart disease is not underestimate its stress. Lee Waldman reports on the latest.
For cardiac psychologist Ann Saltzman, the role stress plays on cardiovascular health is becoming increasingly evident.
Stress has become, it's almost as dangerous as smoking.
Saltzman is helping bridge the gap between the fields of psychology and medicine, working with cardiac patients recovering from traumatic events like a heart attack or transplant.
There was no support provided. Other departments in the hospital had that, like oncology and, obstetric and so on and so forth, but nothing done in cardiac care.
She says it's crucial for patients to address both the physical and psychological trauma in the aftermath of a cardiac event. Although stress impacts everyone, she says women in particular are more prone to stress, which could lead to increased cardiac risk.
We have women reporting to us, and to me particularly, that they have to take care of so many things at the same time that their nervous system is constantly triggered and their sleep, their quality of sleep is gone.
Studies show women have roughly double the rates of stress disorders such as depression and post-traumatic stress disorder compared to men. But there are ways to help mitigate the effects of stress on our hearts.
Take breaks, unplug, connect with yourself more instead of constantly being connected with others. Seek support. Don't think that you can do everything alone constantly.
In New York, I'm Lee Waldman.
Here are some of the top headlines in the Cuero Record. DeWitt County commissioners oppose a bill to silence local political voices, and 4-H ambassadors visit Holy Cross Giving Garden for a service project. To read these stories and more, visit DeWittCountyToday.com.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's still 96 degrees out there. A couple little pop-up showers that we'll show you in a moment. That's our high for today, and that's right at where we're supposed to be. That's our average temperature, but we did have 1/100th of an inch of rain out at the airport. That's pretty exciting. The shower activity is going to be here and there over the next few days, but the big news is out in the Atlantic. We'll have all that coming up in a moment. Well, good afternoon, everyone. As you can see right about there along the immediate coastline, the sea breeze activity is in. That's when the land heats up, right? The cool, somewhat cooler ocean air comes in, and as a result, we get these little pop-up showers. Obviously, nothing like what the big storm line we had 2 days ago, but this is just the activity that we're getting. And at this point in time, if you catch a cloud, take a picture. You're the lucky one. The rest of us are just having to deal with the hot weather. There's that old stationary front. It's still sort of wobbling down there. Much more humid south of it, slightly less humid north of it, but it's just enough of a differential of a different air mass that it does trigger some of that activity. And you can see how it goes up here into Florida, and that's also triggering stuff there as well. The big news is that the heat wave is now in the desert southwest. Places like Phoenix and Tucson is going to be looking like temperatures about 115 for the next couple of days. On the East Coast, we've got some stormy weather, but there is no heat wave there. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got the tropics. Now, let me zoom in right about now. There was a stuff that came through today earlier at this hour, just one little shower right there. I think that's outside our door right there, if you look real careful right there. Otherwise, fairly light activity out to the northeast of us. Heat index obviously is the issue, and as we get to the weekend, you just have to realize that it's going to be on the hot, steamy side. Now, 106 tomorrow, then 105 Friday. What's happening here? Well, it's still 102. Don't get the idea that it's cool, but it's just we're going to pick up more cloud cover over the weekend and maybe a little better chance of getting getting some shower activity. Off the East Coast, we have this area that will likely or possibly spin up something and head out to sea. Not a problem. Not going to worry about that one. This is the one we're actually talking about. Yesterday we mentioned it. The computer models were in agreement that something was going to spin up. It did spin up. There is Invest 96L. And this, in about 4 days right here, should be a named storm. A good possibility, I believe it'll be Erin, E-R-I-N. And then by early next week will be a hurricane off the East Coast. At this point in time, I'm going to say it's mostly an East Coast event, but I hope that they're ready for it, and we're obviously going to be watching it. Now, as we take a look at the Saharan dust layer, which has been predominant over the season, there is still a pocket there, but it looks like it's going to cross out of it and then head over to the east. So that's why this has the potential to survive this hostile environment of dusty weather and get very close to the East Coast. Now, as I mentioned earlier, Jacksonville, Florida, you can put an imaginary line here. It's actually the 30th parallel, okay? It goes this way. And whenever the storm gets above that, that's when it starts taking that northeast turn. So, you know, it may turn here, it may turn here, but it's going to be close to the East Coast. So they're going to have to watch it very carefully to see what Erin winds up doing. For us here in the Crossroads, well, yeah, it's hot and steamy. I know you got plans for the weekend, but I'm hoping that your neighbor has a pool or something. That would be good, because trying to stay cool is the thing. A few afternoon showers possible around the area, kind of like what we saw today. In Cuero, you're getting up to about 97, so it's a little bit on the hot side out there. I just want you to respect the heat and not dismiss it. Looks dry for a Friday, Saturday, but then by Monday we start picking up a little bit better chance of getting some of that afternoon activity, and it would be good because that's the only thing that's going to help knock the temperature down. That's your 7-day forecast, reminding everybody we do have a QR code. Love for you to scan that. Put Crossroads Today on your phone. And Shauna, back to you.
Still to come, the popular accessories retailer Claire's faces major financial troubles once again. Stocks land in the green today. The Dow up 81 points, the S&P 500 rose 46 points, and the Nasdaq climbed 253 points. Oil is down $1 to $64.14 per barrel. President Trump and Apple CEO Tim Cook at the White House today to announce another big multi-billion-dollar investment in the U.S. But still, the big question hanging out there today, will the iPhone ever be built in the USA? ABC's Jacqueline Lee reports.
A big Apple announcement. The third biggest company in the world pledging another $100 billion investment in manufacturing in the U.S. Apple's total investment now $600 billion to expand its factories and artificial intelligence blueprint. But Apple still builds the bulk of its products in countries like China, India, and Vietnam. CEO Tim Cook walking a tightrope to navigate tariffs and appease the president, who's been pressuring him for months now.
I had a little problem with Tim Cook yesterday, but now I hear you're building all over India. I don't want you building in India. I used to say, Tim, you got to start doing it over here, and you really have. I mean, you've really put a big investment in our country.
President Trump threatening to impose 25% tariffs on Apple if it doesn't manufacture in the U.S.
Apple's trying to navigate a Rubik's Cube. They're frustrated because they're trying to navigate these tariffs, and it continues to be a moving target.
And experts say it's unlikely iPhones could ever be made in the U.S. without a skyrocketing price tag for consumers.
It's an impossibility to do it in the U.S. Working 18 hours a day, cheap labor, living in the actual factory floor, as well as the IP that's actually based in Asia.
As part of its original $500 billion investment, Apple pledged to expand U.S. manufacturing facilities in places like Michigan, Texas, and California. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
President Trump is hitting India with another 25% tariff, this time as a penalty for continuing to buy oil from Russia. It's on top of a previous 25% tariff on Indian imports, and the White House says it's a necessary step to hold India accountable for supporting what it calls Russia's war machine. This marks Trump's first use of secondary sanctions targeting countries doing business with Russia. The move was announced just hours after Trump's foreign envoy, Steve Witkoff, wrapped up a meeting in Moscow with President Vladimir Putin. Claire's has filed for bankruptcy again. The go-to spot for accessories and ear piercings is seeking Chapter 11 protection for the second time in less than 10 years. The 64-year-old retailer has struggled with online competition, mounting debt, and tariffs that hit its supply chain hard. Back in 2018, Claire's had over 4,500 stores worldwide. Today, that number's down to just over 2,700. 76 wild food creations are competing for State Fair glory. Wait until you see the finalists.
Tonight, the shooting at the Fort Stewart Army Base in Georgia, the victims and investigation, plus the air quality alert still in effect and the record-breaking extreme heat. World News Tonight with David Muir is the most watched newscast in America.
They say everything is bigger in Texas, and that holds true for the State Fair finalists of the 2025 Big Tex Choice Awards. The mouthwatering entries were narrowed down from a record-breaking 76 to just 15. They include the Vietnamese crunch dog to chocolate funnel cake fries, cookie stuffed milkshakes, and
What?
more. Final contenders are vying for the top titles of either Best Taste Savory or Best Taste Sweet. In addition, honors will go to Most Creative and the newest category, Best Taste Sipper. I guess they're like beverages. The winners will be announced on August 21st. The State Fair of Texas kicks off September 26th in Dallas. Some of those look pretty tasty. Some,
Well, you put words together that don't go together. I think you said cookie-based fries.
Milkshake.
What? Milkshake?
It's chocolate funnel cake fries.
Chocolate funnel cake fries.
Yes.
Now, how do you
There's
put
deep fried deli tacos.
How do you put all that together? You know. And,
I don't know. Brisket stuffed pretzels.
well, now that's interesting. Brisket.
But you know, everything's gone from having to be basically fried in some way to now, I mean, brisket stuffed pretzels, that actually sounds pretty tasty.
I mean, after 100 years, you kind of run out of things to fry.
Yeah.
Fried grasshoppers, we haven't done that one. Well, folks, for us, the heat continues in our area. We're going to be dealing with it for a while.
We're frying in another way.
Yeah, we're going to, that's why they came up with a frying contest, because we are frying. Looking at temperatures, upper 90s. Of course, the tropics are getting busy. Well, we'll certainly be watching it for you and making sure nothing moves in the Atlantic.
All right, get out in the water this last weekend before school starts.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here in just 30 minutes for 25 News Now at 6, right after World News with David Muir.